Hello, David Madaffari here, St. George candidate for City Council District 4. Today we are going to tackle the big one, the Home Rule Charter. Man, let me tell you, it is getting snippy out there on this issue. And I, for one, have my issues with it are not so much in the details of it. There are details of it that I don't particularly like. The question that I really have asked about the Home Rule Charter is simply, why? Like, why was this necessary? Why was this proposed? Why is this even part of the conversation we're trying to get the city up and running? And I asked this why question specifically in the form of, was this something the people of St. George asked for, especially of the first council appointed by the governor? You know, my understanding was this first council's job was to kind of get the ordinance set up. We have a lot of other things to do. And to get this first election set up for the people to choose their representatives, and then let those representatives decide if this is something they want to run on, and let the people decide if this is something that they even want. Specifically, is this something they want the representatives to work on, or do they like the traditional Lawson Act form of government that we have in most cities here in Louisiana? That is the crux of my position on the Home Rule Charter. What I think needs to be also discussed is that not all Home Rule Charters look like the one we have. They don't have to be this hybrid council-managed form of government. They can be whatever you want it to be, and then it's put up for the people for a vote. My point is, if we had to do a Home Rule Charter, if it was like we should get a Home Rule Charter done so we can make the changes that we want to make down the road and not have to go through the, somewhat longer, arduous process to do that when you're under a Lawson Act sort of government, why not just create a simple Lawson Act almost copy, change the couple of things we don't like about the Lawson Act. Start there, where you have your executive mayor and you have your legislative council. And then from that point, let's get the city going. Let's get the money in. Let's start appropriating. Let's start getting these wins for the people. And then take the appropriate amount of time to discuss whether a council-managed form of government is something that the people of St. George want. Present it in a fashion that there's multiple conversations about it. We can do things like we're doing now. We can do videos about it. We can discuss it, as opposed to creating it and having to defend it against people who may have questions, who don't like it, who are against it. We can create a more cohesive conversation about whether this is something St. George even needs. As soon as this Home Rule Charter thing was created and was put on the ballot and I started reading it, that was really my first question, was not so much that they want to change the form of government to a council-managed form. It was more like a why. At one of the talks that we had, this question came up. The argument is that the Lawson Act creates an all-powerful mayor. They use the word dictator, which I don't think was very fair to use, especially for the mayor, calling him a dictator in an election. My response to that was it's. If we're trying to get away from what Baton Rouge is doing, we created our own city so we could be better and more efficient than what Baton Rouge is doing with our tax dollars. It had nothing to do with the form of the government being a mayor-council form of government. That's not the issue. The form is not the issue. The issue is the people that are running it and that are elected to those positions. And the people that are appointed to all the different committees and whatnot, that is not being accounted for and is not being accountable, to the people who appointed them, who are supposed to be the first people keeping them accountable, and then also accountable to the people. And I think what the St. George movement proved is that with enough time, which let's be real, time does matter. With enough time, we can get the right people there, and the people will pay attention if they are actively engaged in the process in a constructive manner and not in a defensive, well, you just don't understand how government works type manner. Although, here we are at the end of the day, the charter is going to be on the ballot, and the people are going to be responsible for reading it, understanding it, asking questions of their friends, of their family, of the officials that put it forward, and for us as candidates, asking questions to us about how we feel about it and what we think is the best way forward. I think it's probably clear in this video that in this moment in time, and I've mentioned this repeatedly, that at this moment in time, I don't think this home rule charter is appropriate for what we're trying to do right now. I think there are much more important things to do. I believe there is definitely an advantage to having a more traditional form of government where you do have the mayor as the point man for the citizens, and there actually is an argument for the home rule charter that says that the council managed form of government is actually closer to the people. You have, as citizens, a better opportunity to communicate with your government. I would disagree because I can communicate with my council member now. However, as we've learned with East Baton Rouge Parish, with the mayor, we can make changes quickly as an electorate to the mayor and start steering the ship in a different direction faster than it would be to have to replace 4 or 5 people on a council in order to enact change that the people want. Because again, everybody votes on the mayor. Not everybody votes for every seat. And I think by keeping those two powers, those two entities separate and their responsibilities separate, actually allows the ability of the people to enact change either or through the mayor or through the council is very important. And I believe that while the home rule charter does lay out ways that the people can be involved, they can enact change within the council, it's not something, that I think the people of St. George are ready for yet, and that's only because it has never been done before, and there's only been such a short time to be able to understand it, and there's nothing to look back to say, okay, we've done this before, we know how to do this. I think it would be, again, I'm going to repeat myself, smarter to take a version of the Lawson Act, put that in a home rule charter, change the things that we don't like, some of these smaller things that allows us to change it faster every couple of years, then start proposing home rule charters, council managed forms of government, and see if the people of St. George, if they would prefer to explore this in a more engaged manner. It would be more prudent, I believe, to let's stay under the Lawson Act for now. Let's get the first council in. Now that we've had a discussion, especially about the home rule charter, how do the people feel about it? It doesn't mean that we can't do another one, but we'll at least know where the people stand on that issue from this vote. I really think that that's the crux of my position, and I see I'm already at 10 minutes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple other videos on this, kind of going through some of the details of the home rule charter and just give you my opinions on them and how I think that the Lawson Act might be a better fit, again, for this moment in time in St. George's history. I think it would be better to stick with something like that, and I'm going to present some of that in some new videos. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you will come out on, I think it's Tuesday night, March 11th, 7 to 9 at Woodlawn Baptist. There's going to be a candidate forum. It should be a pretty exciting meeting. So hopefully I will see you there. Thanks for watching.